Everything changes the moment you realize this. You always have a choice. You may not have it in what has happened to you, but you definitely have it in what happens next. Again, welcome back to Unzipped Lips. Again, I'm your hostess, Mary Freshwater, and we're in a space where we get to unzip the truth and talk about the things that were never supposed to be said out loud. And I am super excited for my guest hostess today, Jessica, Jess Kahnke Pohl. I, I'm trying to use your legal name. I'm sorry, I'm not your mom
Right.
either. But yeah, I want Jess to introduce herself because if I talk about her, I'm going to just rape her about her for the next hour because she's someone I respect a lot and has been an amazing friend over the last 8 years. So I'm super excited to have her with me today.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Jess. Some people call me Jessica professionally. Either one is fine. I am a therapist and mental performance coach for endurance athletes. I'm also an endurance athlete myself, specifically triathlon and running. And I have two different businesses that are kind of related, using a lot of the same skills, as I'm sure that you have already talked about. There's a lot of crossover between therapy and coaching. In my therapy practice, I work with individuals and couples mostly these days, but I have lots of experience with families, kids, all ranges. I also have lots of coaching experience all the way up from like being a swim instructor and a lifeguard to now I teach or coach endurance athletes and do programming for them and mindset work for performance. So the two differ. One is, mental health, holistic, and then one is like performance based for athletes. But I love both and I have a good time.
Yeah. Dude, I'm just impressed by you because, I mean, you're a triathlete. You do Ironmans, both you and your husband. I'm in awe of both of you all the time. It's something I could never do, but I'm not an endurance athlete. I'm a strength. So
You say that, but maybe that's just a mindset thing.
you're like, let's work on this. Maybe later.
Sounds good.
And
We digress.
but actually, you know what? It kind of goes right into what we're talking about because mindset, but it's also the power of choice. Like, so let's kind of joke about it, but really, okay, so I'm choosing that I'm not a endurance athlete. I'm a strength athlete. But the power of choice can change all of that. If I choose to put my time and energy into it, like I can change that. So both of our practices run on the power of choice. How do you talk about that with your clients?
Oh, man, it's such a like a big topic. One of the keys that I see to a lot of it is this idea from going like from like autopilot or like lacking awareness, and then you go to like awareness of how many things are actually in your control. That doesn't mean that you can like control an outcome necessarily, but once you have the awareness of like what's going on, like what's holding me back, then you can start choosing like the things that you want to like work on and that you basically can change. And there's a lot more things in our control than often we think are in our control. And then really distinguishing like what's in your control versus not in your control, letting go of the things that aren't in your control, focusing on the things that are. Um, and then, yeah, that kind of everything builds from there, like what goals you make and the things you want to attain and any roadblocks that come up and how to deal with those things as everything progresses and as your mind kind of opens and your self-awareness opens. And yeah, it's kind of like a flower or an onion with the layers peeling everything back.
Yeah. Well, I like that because, you don't need permission to choose something. You just need awareness. So those like awareness and choice do kind of go hand in hand. And it's kind of the chicken before the egg. Which one do you need first? I think really depends on the person, whether they need more awareness to be able to choose or they need to start choosing new things to become more aware. Like I've noticed it can vary on different people, but it's kind of like you just need to start doing something different.
Yeah.
choosing different.
I mean, the point at which you start questioning things, like that's really the biggest step. It's like, that's saying like once you acknowledge something, like then you can do something with it versus you're just shut down, like blind to it, like, yeah, have zero awareness. Like, yeah, once you start actually questioning, then you can like really dig into it more from there.
Yeah. So the fun part that you also just mentioned was autopilot. So, I think it was a couple of episodes back, I talked about your autopilot is your subconscious, which is about 95% of your day, your behaviors. In the awareness part is what you start to see the patterns of what's happening in your life, what you're doing, what other people you're allowing other people to do in your life. You start to see the patterns with the awareness, and you have to start consciously choosing different in order to change your autopilot, in order to change that subconscious. It has to come with very, very deliberate choices in your life. How would you speak more on that?
Yeah, so as human beings, we do a lot of things on autopilot, like from it's just I don't know, like part of our evolution and our brains. Like if we were to think about every little thing every day, like that would be too exhausting. Like our brains do that automatically. We like throw things in buckets, like, oh, this looks similar. This is how we're going to react or deal with that situation. And then we just run from that, and we often don't question it. Like we'll just start down a path, and this is how we act. This is how we react to these types of situations. And we don't ever really think about most of them, like we don't need to get into all of that, but like there's so many things that we just like you just do. Like, do you really think about, getting up and, like going through every decision you ever make, like waking up and, brushing your teeth and like all these things? A lot of these are just autopilot patterns. But then the things that we really get into are, when we get stuck on something, like something will pop up and we're like, why is that such an issue? Like, I've done that forever. Like, why is it an issue now? And it's usually different like pain points or from, traumatic experiences. I see it mostly in relationships, whether that be like person to person, or, like an athlete's relationship to their training or, their food or body image. Yeah, we just like develop these automatic patterns that we don't necessarily question it unless we come up against something that's a problem, I guess. Or that we start noticing like there's some friction or I don't like this, or we've just pushed on in the same way and now we have an injury or yeah, like a traumatic event or something that then we really start to question and dig into if we want to. There's also continuing on with that lack of awareness and just, you know, blaming or like being a victim or of like circumstance. And
So, I mean, you kind of hit a huge topic of not choosing is still a choice. So, lack of doing anything, you've chosen to do nothing.
yeah.
And really, that comes with its own consequences. And how do you really kind of talk on that? On like the unforeseen consequences of what you find comfortable, right? What that can really look like in the future, because as you and I know, your nervous system just keeps compiling this. If you're not willing to choose healing or choose something different, you typically head down a very toxic, negative road. So, how would you talk more on that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, sometimes I guess as therapists and coaches, like we see that happening and we realize, you could get into something with like a client and there comes a point at which like they're resisting some sort of change, which is a natural human reaction. Like as humans, we would usually always automatically go with what we know and what is comfortable, like what our patterning is, what our autopilot is, um, because it's safe and we know what to expect. So even if it's painful, even if it sucks, we will continue on with that because it's easier. And so it's really distinguishing, like, if you continue down that path, you're going to get the same results. You're going to be stuck in the same place. And that totally is a choice. And some people choose that. They're like, yeah, I'm not ready. Or the like changing something's too scary, or they don't want to dig into it, or they're just, not ready for that.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks because, like, my history of trauma as a child going in. I have a fairly traumatic life. You know most of the story. And I don't even, I can't even 100%. I know when I left my ex, I had to choose to end a lifestyle. And I call it a lifestyle of abuse because it was a pattern. It was my nervous system was used to it. I was familiar with it. I I chose to break that lifestyle. And I call it a lifestyle because really abuse, I think, becomes a lifestyle because it's so familiar and you kind of seek out those patterns of behavior. And I know the moment I made that choice, but there are so many other micro choices that had to happen along the way and have happened since. And I know I've told many people and my clients that a choice doesn't just happen once. It's small ones to lead to the big ones, or the big ones that you have to consistently choose. It's not like a one and done deal. How do you approach that topic? And
Um, oh, this is where like habits come in. Um, because the autopilot's sneaky like that. And these patterns are really like they're really stuck in there, especially if they're things that you've lived for, 5, 10, 20, 30 years. They're not going to want to go away. There's a lot of stuff that comes up in changing something that's like that long standing. Um, and so that's where like there's just different mindfulness practices and like I do, like writing and journaling and scheduling and alarms and like all these like type A things, but you really have to like stay on it and keep it in your present awareness like every day until you build a new habit. And even beyond that, um, because it's somewhere between, they'll say like 66, maybe closer to 90 days to build a habit. And most people give up after 2 weeks because like anything's really exciting for a couple weeks. You can have all these, all these plans, like all these things, and then it starts to lose its luster. And then and then there's this tricky period for a couple weeks, like you think it's there, and then so you just let all of those habits and all of those things out of your awareness, and you slide right back into the autopilot and the safety versus, like if you were to stick with the 90 days, 3, 6, 12 months, like all of a sudden, like those new things that you've built in, like are now your lifestyle. Not that you can't still be triggered by old things and like old patterns don't pop up once in a while, but they're no longer like the automatic and the autopilot.
I mean, it becomes really a choice of building because you got to build. It's not a quick fix. You got to choose to build and you got to choose to build different. So if you don't find yourself, you have to build yourself, and I had a friend recently who was like, I want to get to know me more before I do anything different in my life. And I'm like, well, okay, you're going to die not knowing yourself because you can get to know your core person, like your core, your values, who you are. But every day we slightly change because we choose something different or we swap out one choice for a new choice. And we're constantly evolving as humans, which is fascinating. That's why psychology is always changing, is because we're always changing and our understanding of our mind just gets deeper and more complex all at the same
Yep.
time. So when I'm saying about that is like you can choose to find yourself and know yourself, but you also need to be okay with the evolving choices and the evolving person of who you are, and that you may never know the entirety of yourself. I mean, I'm 41, Jess. I don't even know myself.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I would say that that's necessarily fully true. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely believe in like the evolving and building yourself, but I would say like even just acknowledging where you're at, like the things that you know about yourself currently, but those things could definitely change as they should. Like that, that phrasing, like evolve or die, or
What?
like
Wait, did I miss a phrase out there? I don't like that one, but all right, let's go with that.
I mean,
Evolve
we
or
don't have to go
die.
with that.
I mean, evolutionism. Uh,
I mean, but really, like if you're not embracing like all of the change, you want to be like old and crusty and just like stuck in your ways, like the world's moving on. Like everything's always moving forward to something else, which is hard and scary. And like the more you can practice change, the easier it actually gets. And so you can learn new things, you can do new things. Like any day, you can say, I've done this thing this way for 50 years and I found this new way of doing it. And you know what? I like it better.
yeah. I mean,
And
it's
what's wrong with that?
yeah. I mean, it's the premises of this podcast to challenge ideologies, challenge thought process, challenge people so you can grow and do different and become different in a better way, hopefully, in a better outcome. Um, because I hope not to lead anyone astray. Um,
But like really, no, like the choice thing, like it like moving forward is always the way. Like otherwise what's the counter to that is being stuck.
yeah. I mean, I got you on here. Are you questioning your choices? Just
No, this is great. I love talking psychology all day long.
I know both of us geek out, so it's fine. um, well, so back to knowing someone, knowing yourself, knowing you. I mean, it is a choice to really like choose who you are gonna become. So like you may not like what you find when you're doing self-discovery. Okay, so change it. I mean, there's two things like you touched on earlier, things you can change and things you cannot. I mean, really, you can't control someone else. It's just never going to happen. We can't manipulate people like a puppet master. If you're a good person, you don't manipulate people like a puppet master.
That's a choice. Are we swearing on this podcast?
Yeah, go for it. I don't care today.
I mean, you can choose to be an asshole versus a kind person. Like
Yeah,
that's a choice. And like, and who
100%.
do you want to be? Like, you just go into the world and you act that way, and your actions will show like your character. But yet, like, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's your character. This might be like a whole other tangent, but a lot of people get stuck on like, when they start to do the work and dig into some of these things, like, oh, I've made some really bad choices or things that have gotten me into a really ugly spot. So that makes me a bad person. And a lot of the work that I do is separating like the actions from the character, like because the actions are changeable. So if you deep down like find like like I want to be this strong person, I want to make these better choices, you can do that. But
I
if you
just
have those two things collapsed on each other, and then you're constantly in this like place where you're putting yourself down and you have all this negative self-talk and you're telling yourself you can't change and it can't be different, you're terrible and you don't deserve, better. Like that's a lot of like deeper work.
it is. I actually just I've heard the quote before and I don't know where it originated from, so I'm really sorry, but you are not your worst choice, mistake, your worst day. You are not your worst. And I think people who want to choose different really need to learn that you are not your worst. You are not defined by your worst. You're defined who you choose to show up in like in my dating life, I laugh because I'm looking for someone who will man up, step up, and show up. And that's just like in everybody's, how are you showing up? How are you stepping up? How are you like physically and emotionally and mentally standing in front of people? Who are you presenting? And that's really what that means is like, I want someone who's going to show up. and be there in because I'm going to do that. Like, this is a core of me and my values. Like, and it's what I had to choose. You know, I had every example in my life show me that no one's going to show up for you. And I had to make the choice that I was going to show up. And now I have amazing people like you that show up because it's just a core value. And I have that type of people in my life because I broke the pattern. But it came with that choice of who do I want to be? And then I could choose people better according to how I wanted to be. And then it kind of snowballs. Is that something like you would say is common, or am I just like a wild card? I don't. I am, but
I'd say it's so complicated. I'd say that's amazing. Like that is the ultimate idea with all of the work is like making those choices and being that person and standing for that. A lot of people don't do that, and the why is more complicated. So it's hard to say. I work with a lot of people on that very same thing. The thing that came to mind is like, I don't know, it's like an idea of standards. Like you can say, like, yeah, like things that you're looking for, or like character, or yeah, standards is a common word. And what's, going around without pulling too much outside drama in is this idea of standards and like how some people have too high of standards. And it's like,
are you saying I have too high of standards? It's
no, I'm
okay.
saying that there is no such thing to me. And there's a difference between like an expectation versus a standard. Like if you have a standard that someone is like a kind person, someone that is not a kind person is going to be offended by that. And they're going to like see all of the things that you are standing for and be threatened by that. And they're going to put you down for that. And so and then you choose how to move through that. What do you do with that? Like, do you take that on and you say, yes, you're right. Like, I am this way, and like let somebody else dictate your life? Or do you stand for, like, I guess this person doesn't need to be in my life, and like keep weeding through, somebody that's going to see that and say, that's amazing. I like those qualities about you. And like, I also have those things and I can show up in that space with you. I think is really powerful.
I like that you said that. Because there is, and I try to explain this multiple times, that there is a difference between standard, quality, and expectations. Like, you can live a life with zero expectations because you live by a standard and will only accept a certain quality of person in your life. And when you have that quality of people that surround you, you don't have to have expectations for them because, like, they all live by a standard. They all just kind of are who they are. And you kind of find yourself in awe of them because you have zero expectations for them. And they just show you how amazing they are. So it's like those are three separate things. And helping people choose better for themselves so then they can choose better for around them as well. Like, it really comes down to that choice again. Like, you get to choose who you are, but you can't really choose that high of quality while sitting in victim and failure mentality. Like, and so it's like that healing point. Like, you have to choose to heal to get to that, because if you're sitting back in this broken mentality, like, you can want higher quality around you, but unless you're choosing it for yourself, they're not going to stay around you because they also choose for higher. And would you, how would you elaborate more?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, if you want to get into like things like law of attraction or like what your energy is, like you attract what you put out there. So, I mean, yeah, the person that's kind of, you know, like, and I don't want to be offensive, but it's just like a way of being, is like,
You know, you're
that
supposed to say,
victimhood.
what you're not supposed to say.
Fair,
So
fair, okay.
say the dang thing, girl. Say the dang thing.
There are some people you just have to be more gentle with, but yeah, I guess this podcast is not that. So yeah, not to be attacking, but some people do live in that victimhood place of like, woe is me, like nothing ever goes right, like, and they just attract more of that because they're walking around the world like that versus like open and kind and positive and like I'm going to introduce myself to people and I'm going to put out that positive energy and then actually get that back, make eye contact with people, like yeah, do something nice for someone, make, compliment somebody. And like that kind of energy is really contagious.
I think to put it a little bit different, because I think so many people are worn out on the energy thing and the law of attraction. So I want to put it a little bit differently to see if it makes sense for some people that are tired of hearing that. So if you are sitting in victimhood mentality, woe's me, but you want better around you, better doesn't like that mentality. They're not going to stick around. So it's really like you have to become what you want to be around. Because if you don't, that type of people don't want to be around that negative energy, that negative mindset, that negative talk.
Yeah.
So it's like if we throw energy and laws of attraction out the window, human behavior, you don't want to be around somebody who's going to drag you to the pit. So if you want to be somebody who's out of the pit, start acting like it, and other people are going to help pull you out of the pit and help raise you up. But you have to make that conscious decision that you're not a victim, that you're not failure, you're not broken, you're not this, you're not that. You have to make that choice for yourself first. And then you'll see the people around you start to change with you because their standard of living and how they talk, and you're going to match. You match the people around you. And that's where, like, you and I nerd out on psychology, and other things.
Yeah.
But,
I mean,
you
part of that
really,
is the like what's appealing and not, or like attractive. So yeah, if someone has gone through something similar and like grown out of, I mean, we could say it's a phase, like being unaware, being a victim. At some point, like we are all victims of something. It's just the way that the world is. Um, and but if somebody's been there and they look at that, it's like cringy. They're like, "Oh no, like that's not the way," and that's not attractive. So yeah, you're not attracting them, like you're actually off-putting them unless you are open to being different. And you're like, "Yeah, I'm stuck here. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to change. You look like you have it all together. How did you do that? Can you help me?" Like making it, that's a choice, like making that choice. And then human beings can rally together and say, yes, like come along with us, like be better, change, like evolve. Yeah.
people are willing to, like, I, I love that fact that you just said that people, so many people that are at a higher level are so willing to put a hand back and pull someone alongside them because they were there once. And you just have to be open, make the choice that you want to do better and you want to show up better. You want to walk a different way. You just have to have that mentality. And next thing you know it, you see these people like turning around and pulling you up. And it becomes such a powerful thing because then it's the beautiful exchange of like knowledge because you can't get better without having help in knowledge on getting better. So it's really comes down to that first, that choice, that awareness that you need to change and kind of start the forward movement. Then you have people who are walking. Next thing you know, you have people walking the side alongside you, helping you along. I mean,
There's a point in there though that I think I don't want to leave out because get lost here is it might be leaving everything and everyone behind that you're currently with because people are either like pulling you back because they're getting uncomfortable with you wanting to change, So you might have to go and seek new people to be those people that are going to help move you forward because the people that you're surrounded with are keeping you stuck. Like not in an uncontrollable way, but it's your choice to like distance, and sometimes that has to happen. And sometimes that's not something that someone's willing to do. So that's where that choice comes of like I can't. It's like it's too scary, it's too big to go out to find new people and new support and new groups. I can't leave this person or this community or whatever that might be. That's a really hard part and a hard choice for a lot of people to make.
I mean, I have a brother who robbed a bank, who made some horrible choices. And when he got out, he realized the only way to straighten out his life was to move to a completely different state and leave everything he knew in order to be able to have a chance to not fall back into that lifestyle. And, it is. And I've spoken on the podcast a couple times now. Healing's ugly and it is lonely. Like when you first start it, it is lonely. And it's a choice you make, but it's like in my mind, I mean, obviously, because I'm doing what I'm doing, you're doing what you're doing. Healing and making these choices is the most incredible thing you can do for yourself and will be the most rewarding thing in your life. But healing is also the rest of your life. You know, it's not gonna, it has no timeline. You're not done tomorrow. It is a forever journey. But you meet some amazing people along the way. Jess, sorry, I told you, like, I respect you so much. Like, you've been an amazing friend that yeah, like, one of the most amazing people. Sorry, I'm gonna gush over you. The world's gonna know how amazing you are by the end of this. Um, but sidebar, let's go left. Every excuse is a surrender of power. Because if we're going to talk about choice being a powerful thing, let's also talk about every excuse is pretty much surrendering that power. You're just giving it away. You're giving your power away when you make an excuse. Like, I'm sure you've heard it a million times over. I'm just this way because of da da da. Or I don't want to deal with it. That's something I'll deal with later. Or like, the snowball effect of all of that. Like, let's really dig into excuses are one, lack of ownership, and it's surrender of power. And it really goes back to the no choice is a choice. Like all three of those, I think, kind of go together. Is that correct? Or am I completely in the right field, not left field with you?
I think that's right. Making, yeah, choice is power. When you give that away, like then you truly, whether it's perception or truth, without getting too much in the weeds, like you give that power away, and like you get stuck in whatever it is you are. So there's definitely power also in acknowledging like, yes, you are this way because of the way that you grew up, what your parents did, the experiences that you had, all of those things. That is all true. And do you want that to continue, or do you want to change something and be different? Because that's where the choice comes in.
Yeah, I like that. Because I mean, it's also saying like you choose how to look at things. Like, are you that way because your parents were that way? Because you're a bigger dick if you're abusive because your dad was abusive. Because you know the pain you're inflicting because you went through it. Now think about it like that. Like, think about it in a different framework. You're not that way because of your dad. You're worse than your dad. And I hope you can see that. Like, because you know the pain you're inflicting onto somebody. And really, I'm pretty sure someone's going to hate me for saying that, but you know the pain you're inflicting when you're doing that. if you're repeating something that happened to you, you know the exact pain you're inflicting on someone else because you went through it yourself. So, what does that make you?
You probably will be offending some people because those people don't like to be called out.
Well, I mean,
But it's true though. Like yes, so, some people live in that space of clearly, where are we today? Um, I had to live through it, so do you. Okay, asshole. Like, thanks. It's really evolving us. It's great.
yeah, because history is not going to repeat itself on that note.
Just erase it. Never happened.
I mean, we can do that, right? But I think that is something that needs to be said very publicly. Like, I guess I'm really myself. I'm personally fed up with people using that as an excuse of who they are. Because how did I break the mold? Like, how did other people break the mold? Like, I'm not an anomaly. There are many people who've gone through way worse situations than I did that are amazing people and who would never think about harming somebody. It's because they looked at it as you just taught me everything I don't want to be and the exact reason why. So they chose to see it differently. They chose to make a better life for themselves. And they chose that they were no longer going to repeat that cycle of bullshit. And again, it's a choice. Sorry, I got a little passionate there. And again, welcome to Unzipped Lips because this is what we do.
Right. Oh, oh, why? Yeah, why did I even ask that question? I was like, this is, you know, what we talked about this podcast being so long ago.
From
But
the
then
get.
it's still like, yeah, it's tough because you know, as a coach, you have more leeway. Like I have to be more careful with my words as a therapist. So
So
yeah,
I'll
this
just say the damn thing.
because it's yeah, like I mean, where our work right is like we have to meet our clients where they're at. And yes, some need more gentle guidance and some can be pushed a little bit more. And yeah, some are ready and some people are not. And some people it takes time. And yeah, the people that will appreciate this podcast are like, you know, they're ready for it and they're ready for that like real um, like feedback and for it to hit like, oh, just called me out and I want to do something about it versus like, I don't like that, you're a bitch.
Okay. I will be the bitch. And
Wait, this is
I
not for
like
you.
I'm 100% okay being the villain in someone's story if I'm going to help you get better one day. Like 100%. I will be that villain. I will be the person where my words will linger in your head. You will not get over me for about a week because I said something that pissed you off. I'm okay with that because honestly, at the end of the day, if it will make you better and help you question something and challenge you, hell yeah, I'm all in. But again, like, I've wanted to do this podcast for how many years? Like, we've talked about this for years, and you've always told me to do it because I'm going to say the dang thing and not care.
Okay.
I just went and got certification so I could do it even better. All right, we're going to do this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But I really talk about the choice, being challenged, knowing yourself, owning yourself. And it all comes with choice because you cannot look in a mirror and fully see you without choosing to look in that mirror. Like you have to actually choose to see the good, the bad, the ugly, the disgusting, the dirty cracks, the great things. You have to be willing to see it all, but you have to choose to see it all. Otherwise, you stay stuck. That's like a simple truth. So, if I were to ask you to give someone a challenge of choice, what would that
Choice.
be? Like, thanks, Mary. You just put me on the spot. Didn't
Can
expect that question.
no, can you be more specific? Like what?
Yeah. So challenge someone on their choices. Let's put it that way. So, how would you challenge someone on the choices that they're making, or choices that they can make to better themselves? What would that look like? Like a challenge to like look. For me, it's I challenge people to look in the mirror and don't look away for 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm.
Actually look at yourself and make that choice to actually look at yourself. Because who has ever stood in the mirror, not moving, making eye contact with yourself? When was the last time you did that for even a minute?
Yeah, that's interesting. Probably not many people. Probably about the same amount of people that have maybe sat and done the same thing with another person and like looking someone in the eye. I've done like trainings and seminars where that's like a piece of it is like, and it's being vulnerable. It's like opening yourself up to that experience.
Yeah, so like the mirror is kind of the prelude to that. Like because I don't believe you can be vulnerable with someone else if you're not willing to be vulnerable with yourself. And that's where the challenge of standing in front of the mirror, making that choice to actually look at yourself, make eye contact with yourself, don't break it, and see yourself. Look back into your own soul, look back into your own self, and really be vulnerable and see what's there.
Yeah.
So that is a challenge I would put in front of anybody anytime. It makes me uncomfortable because like sitting in
Yeah.
front of a mirror, just really seeing it.
I have not done anything like that before as a challenge. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of stuff is more like reflection or like trying something. Yeah, like giving, oh, it's hard to speak without like a specific example, but like giving a prompt of something to try and then acknowledging and like writing down what came up. Like, what are the insecurities? What are like all the things that make that choice uncomfortable? To like get all the awareness, to get all like what are all the thoughts? What are the things you're saying to yourself? It's explaining it.
No, I like it. So you're essentially saying like actually taking a moment of full self-awareness, like full accountability of what's going on within yourself and journaling it. Like where do your insecurities lie? Why did they lie there? Like if
So reflection, yeah, which comes with like yeah, like meditation, journaling, I guess a lot of just like mindfulness exercises in general, slowing down because we don't do that often enough to just I know crazy. Why would we do that?
I mean, what stays emotions? What's emotion stays emotion. What sits stays still. Like, I mean, I think that's physics, isn't it?
So yeah, I like exploring all of that, seeing what's there, like actually taking the time, not being scared of it, writing it down, like acknowledging it. What do you want to be different? Just like questioning.
I like something that you said before, like one of your coaching prompts, I think, is most people aren't stuck, they're scared. And I think that like your journaling prompt says it because it's like if you were to really look at yourself, how much does that scare you and keep you stuck? Because you don't want to see what's there. You don't want that self-reflection. And that honestly, that has made me always question on how much people don't have self-awareness because they don't want to see something and so they stay stuck.
And some people, it's hard because like you don't know what's there. So it could be something bigger, right? Like some people don't want to acknowledge, like a big one is mental health related because they're scared it's going to be this big scary thing. Versus the way that I see it is you can't do anything about it if you don't know that it's there. Because once you uncover it, like now we can do something about it. And now we have that power of like making a choice. Like what you can we learn some skills? Can we change some things? Can we, you know, do you need medication or something else that's going to like help here, like whether that be like prescription or like natural, remedies. You don't know what you don't know, and if you're not exploring and you're not digging it up, like there's a pain point there, and you're just going to keep living in that space of being stuck and
No, I
either
agree.
not know or not be able to change.
My God, I just did the Minnesota. Yeah, no, no, yeah.
I know there's a few things that came out. I was like, I miss Minnesota, man.
Oh, just so for the audience, just so you're aware, both of us were born and raised in Minnesota,
Yep.
just down the road from each other, but met in Colorado. Like, what?
That's happened so many times. Winters,
But
man.
what?
Winters. Can't do it.
The negative 52 was my last winter here, and I'm like, I'm done. Can't, I'm out. No. So, I do want to kind of bring everything kind of to a close into a pretty bow, even though pretty bows don't really exist. One side's always wonky. I
How is that not pretty?
think it's gorgeous because imperfection is the most beautiful thing.
And imperfect is a unreasonable and impossible standard. That's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
big one too.
yeah, we can go down that rabbit hole a different
There are
day.
lots of rabbit holes we could go down. Yeah.
I'm like,
Stay focused on the podcast.
like, stay focused. But okay, on the power of choice, how would you wrap this up? Like, what is something you want people to really kind of take away today from you?
Spot again.
I know I'm really good at this.
Oh, it's
I
like a big thing to wrap up into like one piece.
Well, no, you don't have to make it like super short, but I'm just like my thing. I'll give an example so then you can just piggyback to your own thing. And I mean, my whole thing is I want people to take away from this is you just got to choose. You just have to start. It it doesn't matter how small that choice is, just make it. You know, and just start down that path of healing and choosing different and choosing better for yourself because that's one small little step will just continue. Because once you choose it, you I don't see how you really unchoose it because anyone I know who's started down a healing journey, they never really stop. But you have to choose that. And you have to choose to look at things differently. You have to choose to change the narratives. And I know that's a huge thing in my practice is changing those narratives. But again, it's a choice. So like I would leave that with people is one small choice is all that it takes to start. And just start there and change your narratives. Start with choosing something super small and then build.
Yeah, could definitely piggyback off that. That's great. I'd yeah, I'd say the with that is like every day is a new day. So a lot of people struggle with that black and white all or nothing thinking and also think that they can't be in the gray zone. Reframe. That's some conversation for another time. But being able to make that specific choice every single day, and if you didn't make it today, you can always make it tomorrow. Like it doesn't have to be Monday, it doesn't have to wait till a certain time of year or New Year's Day. Like you keep falling down and you keep getting back up and you keep making those choices versus not making them or giving up or saying, I can't.
I think there's a quote out there that it's not failure until you no longer are doing it. Like you're dead essentially. As long as you get back up, you didn't fail. Yeah. So, I do want to say thank you for being on here with me today, Jess. As always, you're an amazing person, and it's a pleasure. And thank you all for joining us on unzipping with us today. Our craziness, at least we kept it somewhat contained. You should see us when we're not on here. It's rabbit hole central. Also, don't forget to check out buildyou.us to see ways to work with myself. And if it's okay with Jess, I will also share resources for her and her practices as well. But we'll definitely see you guys on the next episode.